Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Unravel Your Mind. I'm happy to have you here on this Sunday, 11:11 Pacific time. We're here to help transform relationships to love and to life. So I've got a lot of questions, and I encourage you to ask questions in the chat. If you're watching me live, if you're watching on replay, please put it in the chat. I'll be happy to answer it today if I see it and get to it, or on the next week's show. You can also submit questions on Facebook at Beth Bell Live or on Instagram at Queen Bliss B. Everyone's name remains anonymous, so please jump over to any of those private messages or put it in the comments below, and I'm more than happy to answer the question. But let's dive in. There's some good ones today that are coming through and some different ones that are coming through. So question number 1. My son listens to Travis Scott all the time. He loves him, and I even took him to a concert because I knew it would be a great bonding experience for both of us. But the lyrics are way beyond my comfort zone. Any tips on how to stay popular with my son and yet not have his mind infiltrated with language and behaviors I don't support? Wow, well, that's a good one. I do not have a son, and I do not have anyone listening to Travis Scott, but I am familiar with his music because he's such like the rage right now with a certain age group and a certain demographic. And I get it because I've heard some of the lyrics. And I'm like, oh my goodness. First of all, I think the first thing to always remember is that you are the parent, not the friend. And that's sometimes a tough pill to swallow because we want to be friends and we want to be popular with our children. But I do think there's a way to do this that kind of helps straddle the friend, being in good graces with your child and still being the parent. Now, one of the things about Travis Scott, and there's probably a whole bunch of different artists I could name, so let's not just focus on that particular artist, but kind of in that genre. There's a lot of songs with like really great beats, it's like boom, 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 there's like something happening. And so the reason why they're popular is because they've got that rhythm that really gets you into like a happy mood or a happy space or an emotional space, right? And sometimes they get you into an anger space, and sometimes they get you into, like a powerful place and space. Now, the words that they're using, I agree, are sometimes like not at all. I can't remember the name of this artist, but I listened to this one particular song. It's on my playlist, and I listen to it like, I don't know, probably at least once a day because I love the beat. And then one day I was like, oh my goodness, like the words that he's saying are actually not like in alignment with like what I like to think about, what I talk about. And so I had to kind of sit with myself for a second, and I'm an adult. And I was like, is this what I want to infiltrate my brain with? And I was like, I love the beat. And now that I'm aware that the words aren't, jiving with my belief system or with my consciousness, I'm like, I'm just not going to resonate with those words. Now, I'm not saying your son can do this, but I think here's where my advice comes in. I would take this as an amazing opportunity to sit with your son and say, hey, like we both like Travis Scott for various reasons, probably different reasons, but I want to bring your awareness to something, the lyrics and what's being said in the lyrics. And Spotify, I know, has this, probably most of the listening platforms where you can actually get the transcripts. Sure, you can type it into Google and say, what are the lyrics for and the song, and just say, let's just review one song. Let's just take a listen to this and, really think about what's in here. I just want you to be aware that these are the words that are being sung and that this is not a behavior or an idea or whatever, the way that, we know to treat other people. This is not acceptable. The lyrics are not acceptable. And I just want you to have awareness that you are infiltrating your brain with these words. So if you're going to continue to listen to this song, I would like for you to have the awareness that you may want to just kind of hum the melody. Like, okay, so many times in my life, I thought I knew what the lyrics were, but I was making up like totally different lyrics. And I was like singing, I don't know, my best friend would laugh because she knows this. I would used to sing like Bob Seger, and it was like pop singer, you know, like the words were like totally wrong. I just didn't even know. So my point is perhaps your son can infuse a different word, or just really recognize that energy is what he's picking up on, the beat is what he's picking up on, and that the words aren't appropriate. So I know that was kind of a long answer, but I think if you feel into it, it makes a lot of sense because it's such an opportunity to get into bigger topics. Like if you're actually sitting and talking about how, I don't know, I'm making this up, how they're saying like, you know, the girls are, you know, ready to get this, that, the other, like bad words, and there's like really putting down women, then that's a good conversation to have, right? Doesn't mean you have to ban everything. I think it's really difficult in today's world to not have lyrics that aren't probably meeting your parental standards, but it gives an opportunity to just talk about what's out there and to talk about the programs, right? The programs that get ingrained in our head, the ideas, the thought loops. You know, we all have a song in our head that like, we're like, dang, where'd that come from? You know, it's been playing in my head for a while. And so just bring that awareness to your son. And this is getting longer, but also the way that we program those songs in our head is effortlessly, right? Like we just show up outside doing something else. We're like, whoa, I got those lyrics going on. Have your son make up some other lyrics that are, you know, like a jingle, a tune, a mantra. Like I'm not saying like specific to that song, like I was saying that earlier, but now I'm saying, you know, there might just be a mantra that, hey, you know, there's something else that you want to be manifesting in your life. Let's also put that in your head. So if you're going to listen to this song and it has these lyrics that are way out here, then I also want you to think about some other things that you're going to program your brain with, some positive affirmations, some mantras. And that's kind of the, you know, the I don't want to say payoff, but, you know, like the balance, so that you have them recognizing that they're getting programmed with words and thoughts, and also recognizing that they want to program themselves with their own ambitions and the things that they want to really be bringing into their life. So yeah, lots of great opportunities there, I think, with this. And you can still be a good friend, you know, again, parent first, but I think that you'll score some points and you'll be able to laugh about some of these things. And when you take that off, that like secret, like I'm listening to this and I know I shouldn't be off, and you have the lyrics and you can talk about it, and your children feel like you're going to be, you're not going to ban everything, that you're going to use it as an opportunity. I think you'll see the dynamic, you know, change with some of that feedback. So if any of you are parents out there and you have any additional thoughts, you love what I said, you don't like what I said, I would love to hear it in the comments. So please don't hesitate to make a note below. All right, let's get on to the next question. I think I'm really good at manifesting, but I feel like my magic wand is broken. Why are things not coming true? Oh gosh. Well, a couple of things come to mind. One, and I hate this when people tell me this, because it happens to me now more than ever, is it's just timing. And it's so true. It's a lot about divine timing. So you have to be in full surrender that what you're asking for is coming to you, and it's coming to you in divine timing, not your timing. Your higher self, the universe, knows when is the best time. And in between then, it's about staying out of the disparity about what you know is going to be true, what you're manifesting to be true, but what hasn't showed up here yet, right? So I'm speaking to myself on this one, because I think as awakened beings, what happens to us in this journey is, you know, in the beginning, we're manifesting things quite easily a lot of times because we don't have a lot of expectation. I feel like I've covered this on another episode, but we kind of up the ante, and the universe ups the ante, and the next thing we know, we're like, wait, where is it? And we're like, you know, I know how to do this. And we know that there's multiple facets to manifesting. One is, of course, putting the intention out there. And the second one is actually feeling it in your body, in your emotions, as though it's already here. And while that can be easy and difficult all at the same time, easy in the sense of, okay, yeah, I can think about it, and oh, yeah, that would be exciting. we have to still hold that momentum and that vibration for that to be true within us. And a lot of times what's blocking the manifestation is that we've got some kind of, I don't want to make a big deal out of it, but let's say a block, a thought, a belief, something that's standing in the way. And honestly, a lot of times it's self-sabotage. It's just like, as we, expand more and we manifest more and more and more, as I said, the challenge gets a little bit heavier, bigger. And we're asked to really sit in the vibration of a much, much bigger plan than ourselves. And that becomes sometimes more of a challenge. And so it's really letting go, like going back to the 5 pearls of wisdom, letting go and letting source really support you and bring this to you in divine timing, with you anchoring in the vibration that it's already happened. Doing some exercises, I think it was in The Secret where they talked about, sitting at the steering wheel of the car that you want and like just pretending like, the grip and all that. And for some of us, like myself, sometimes that's hard because I feel like I'm lying to myself, but you're not, because you're manifesting, you're bringing forward something. Abundance is your birthright. So you are able to bring anything you want into your life. It's just a matter of belief. The train says yes. It's a matter of belief. It's a matter of really feeling deep within you that emotion. And okay, here's another thing that's coming to me. So sometimes we think we're doing the exercise and we think that we're like, oh yeah, I'm all excited about it. But where are you excited about it? Because if you're excited about it in your head, like just your thoughts, like, oh yeah, that sounds really exciting. It's very different than being excited about it here in your heart. Like, I can feel it at a cellular level. I can feel it. And if it's something that you haven't manifested or experienced before, sometimes it's kind of hard to know, like, well, how does that feel if that were to come true? Like, well, what would that really be like? So I would say in that case, if you don't really know what it would feel like, find a video, find something, maybe on YouTube where somebody won something, and feel into their excitement and their surprise. And yeah, that helps. Like if you find something else where you can experience someone else's emotion, that will get you really into the energy as opposed to you just making it all up on your own. All right. Manifesting is a wonderful thing until we feel like it doesn't work, but it's still working. So keep going. Your wand is not broken. You're just being elevated to additional expanded states of consciousness. And part of that process is really holding a bigger vision for yourself and getting rid of all of the self-doubt or the doubt in the universe. Okay, let's go to the next question. I was just diagnosed with herpes and I'm devastated. To make matters worse, I have to tell a new partner that I've recently become intimate with. I'm petrified to share the news with him. How should I approach this? Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you for asking the question. Thank you for being vulnerable enough to bring it up, because, just speaking the words, typing the words to me is a big deal. It's hard. It's hard because you feel like you're damaged goods. There's like all these things, the shame. It's a social, collective consciousness that tells you that there's something wrong with you. And it's like such a lie. So first of all, just know that the number one thing that you have to get over is the mind virus that there's anything wrong with you. Okay. Because yes, you've been infected with a virus that does impact the genitals and does impact areas of your body that are not nice and not nice to have to tell other people about. However, if you had the flu, someone would bring you chicken soup. Someone would be taking care of you. And so we have to get away from this leper idea that there's something wrong with you. And it's a created concept. And I can tell you from firsthand, if you haven't watched any of my videos, if you haven't read my book, Angels, Herpes, and Psychedelics, Unraveling the Mind to Unveil Illusions, where I talk about what happened to me and how I was infected with herpes and how devastating it was, please pick up the book if you're interested. Listen to my playlist here on YouTube. I've got a whole playlist on herpes. I've had lots of conversations with other people, sexologists, a homeopathic, naturopathic doctor, and there's so many great tips and tools. Now, specific to your situation, it sounds like you just found out you've had intimate relationships with someone when you didn't know, and now you know you need to share with them. And I think you're in a beautiful situation because it opens a communication that can be really, really incredible for intimacy in the future. Now, it depends upon their reaction, but I want to make a really strong point here that their reaction is based on their lens of perception. It's not about you. And immediately what happens is people want to take someone else's reaction about themselves. It's natural. Why wouldn't you? You feel rejected. You feel heartbroken. You're like, oh my gosh, I thought this was somebody I really wanted to be with. All of those things. It's about them once you've told them. And it's going to tell you a lot about who they are. So that's why the situation can be incredibly beautiful, because how they handle it, what they say, how they react is going to give you an idea of like, how is my potential partner, if someone, if you've been dating them for a while or maybe not, how are they going to react under like dire situations or difficult situations in general, but specifically this one, like how fearful are they? It's not about making a judgment on them. It's just about making an observation, and it's about you sitting in you and you really being in your truth. So let's take it just a few more steps. What do I say? I get so many people that ask me that. What do I say? And I say that you say the truth. I am petrified. I was recently diagnosed. I hardly know what to say, but I care about you, and I feel like it's so important that we have this discussion now, because I'm also concerned that we've already been intimate, and there's always a risk that it can be transmitted. And I don't know if I've infected you or not. And I want to have complete transparency, and I want to work through this together and see what they say. If you haven't been intimate with someone, that's, a little bit different. You can say all the same things, but it's a little bit different feeling, because then the other person has potentially less charge. Because initially, most human reactions is, oh my God, do I have herpes, right? Like, did you give me herpes? And again, it's about them at that point, and they're going to have to really sit with their destiny. Now, just for other listeners out there, not this particular person that asked the question, if you've known that you had herpes and you just were so scared to tell the person and you were intimate with them without telling them, the time is always now. And it's always about, again, telling the truth. So if that's your situation, please go to that person and say, I'm really sorry that I didn't have this conversation with you earlier. And I didn't because I was so enamored with you. I so want to be with you as a person. And I'm so excited about our relationship that I didn't want to jeopardize it for anything. And I know that it wasn't responsible for me to get into an intimate situation with you before we talked about this, because I was so scared of the rejection. But I hope that you'll be able to talk with me and that we'll be able to work through this. It's such a different experience when you just tell the truth. And I got to tell you, over the years, the handful of people that I've had to tell that I moved into an intimate relationship with, I cried every time. And there's nothing wrong with that either. It's like, it's so diffused for me at this point, but it's okay to be emotional about this. In fact, I think if you're not, that's hard for the other person, because if you are, then you're sharing like your own devastation with them, and you're being so vulnerable. Please don't be scared to be vulnerable. The other thing that comes to mind is there's a lot of people that end up being in that situation, and then they ghost the other person, especially if they think it's possible that they might have infected them. They just are like, oh my God, I'm not going to write them ever again. They ghost them because they're just embarrassed. They don't know what to do. They don't have the balls to like say anything. And they feel bad that they've already been intimate without actually telling them up front. And please don't do that. don't do that to yourself, because unfortunately, that ghosting, interesting use of words, always comes back to haunt you. It will always haunt you. And if you are the other person that doesn't have herpes and somebody tells you that they have herpes and you don't have the balls to actually have more conversation with them and you ghost them, I'm telling you, it's going to haunt you. And I just want you to know that you've caused more trauma for that person. And this is about truth telling. This virus is not a killer, okay, people? Herpes is not a killer. Herpes is a mind virus, if nothing else. You can have a partner that has herpes and not get herpes. I can tell you from firsthand experience. My last partner, we had sex all the time. They didn't get herpes, okay? It's possible that if you're very cautious when you know that you're potentially having an outbreak, that you do some really basic things like eat an alkaline diet. If you're taking some of the prescription medications, that helps. If you're wanting to do herbal, there's so many options. You can hear all about them in my herpes handbook. If you go to bethbell.me, I've got a whole handbook on this. So I'm not going to spend the whole hour on this. I just want you to know that there are so many resources, and to remember that it's a check engine light. Okay, so I've digressed because it's a hot topic for me. I just think not enough people are talking about it. And if everyone just talked about it and just diffused this ridiculousness of the shame and the disappointment and the betrayal that we all feel, then we could be moving through this really fast, and it creates a bonding opportunity. In fact, maybe on another episode, write me in the comments if you want to hear more about this. I'll share some of my own personal stories and how some of my conversations went down, some that were really good and some that actually were really hurtful to me and really difficult for me, and how I was able to navigate through them, because I love helping other people speak their truth on a very difficult topic. So please write me in the comments. Let me know if you're interested in hearing more, and that'll help guide me as to, how many more videos we do specifically on this topic of herpes. So again, thank you for the question, and I'm happy for, any comments that you feel would be helpful for you to learn more. All right, let's go on to the next question. What's a communication approach to share a disappointment/frustration without making the other person feel wrong, especially when you know that person's default is to be defensive? Okay, if their default is to be defensive, which a lot of people are, especially if you're in a long-term relationship with someone, I would go at it completely the opposite. They've disappointed or frustrated you, and I would bring forward what the frustration is, but not with the intention of having them receive it, but with the intention of you hearing from them how they were feeling and what prompted them to act that way, say that thing. So if your intention changes when you go into this, I really want to understand how you're feeling. I really want to understand how I'm impacting you. I really want to understand what the deeper issue is under that comment or that poke or that passive aggressiveness or whatever it is, or that you lied to me, or that you didn't tell me and that felt like a lie, and that it disappointed me. But I want to understand my role in this dynamic. Please help me understand, so that we as a couple or as friends or whoever the person is, parent, so that we can change this dynamic, because it doesn't feel nice for me. And if it's not feeling nice for me, I know it's not feeling nice for you either. So then you're seeking to understand before being understood, that age-old rule. So I would get really particular about how you want to approach it. And if it's appropriate, another thing that's really helpful is when you enter this conversation with the person, if it's appropriate, depending on who it is and what your relationship is, touching, just like touching their hand, touching their leg, touching their shoulder, just saying, I just really want to connect with you on something. Can we just take a moment and just be present with each other? Because I really want to get to this. I really want to understand how you feel. I really want to understand how I'm contributing to this dynamic, because when this happened, I felt this way. And I would like for that to change between us. How can I be different? How can I communicate differently? What is it going to take for us to not have this disappointment and frustration happen again? Try it out. I think you're going to find that that person's going to have a very different response than what you had mentioned, saying that they're very defensive. And they're defensive because they know that you're coming after them for something that they did wrong. And nobody likes to be wrong, and nobody likes to be reprimanded. I mean, there's very few of us that actually really enjoy getting feedback and really understanding, like, hey, how could I be better? How could I grow? How could I expand? And maybe that's another question. Whatever your relationship is, I don't know, but maybe this isn't a relationship that's worth having these deeper conversations if their response is in a less than caring way, right? If you're really consistently coming forward, I mean, come on, the first couple of times they're going to be like, yeah, what's the agenda here, right? So I'm just suggesting that you should try it several times before you actually give up on the approach. But then if someone's not receptive at all to you really wanting to understand the deeper core issue, then I think you've got another question on your hands as to, yeah, how much time do you really want to put into this relationship? So, okay, let's go on to the next question. Okay, I've got a lot of sun coming in on my face here. Let's see if I can. Does that help? I don't know. I guess that makes it not as bright. Okay, let's see. Let's see what we can do. Next question is, sorry, I've lost my place here. What are some tactics to practice unattachment while in relationship with people who are friendly or early friends without overloading the connection with expectations? Yeah, this is a good one too. It's hard as humans to not have expectations, because we all have relationships, and we've all had a lot of things, depending upon maybe how old you are or where you're at in your life cycle, but a lot of people that have disappointed us, and so that kind of starts to create this response based on previous encounters with people that creates a pattern, right? So part of me feels like, based on the question, that there's a pattern here of, I guess the word oversharing comes, and then wanting that other person to want to have the same desire, to share the same amount, or to have the same level of interest in us than that we do in them. And a lot of times, like, I'm not saying be cold about it. I'm just saying a lot of times just letting go of the idea that they're here for anything other than, it sounds weird to say, but our entertainment, that they're here just to be a reflection and a mirror for us. And whether they're here today and gone tomorrow, like, it's not that we don't care. It's just that I like your word unattached. We're just unattached to what that is. And I think also, when I say that, we have to be unattached to how much we invest in the relationship, right? Like, oh, I invested, I've spent time, or I've been calling this person and they're not calling me back as much, or, whatever that tit for tat energy line is. I'm not saying you're doing it. I'm just saying there's an energy there about a good give and take. And what I've noticed is a lot of times when we back off and it's not that we don't care, but we're just like, yeah, okay, whatever. The person calls. So it's just the idea of, it's a fantasy that we build. I mean, we do it all the time, especially in like romantic relationships, but it's a fantasy that we build that this person is going to fill some particular role in our life. And if we go into it with like just exploration, like, I just can't wait to see what this person is in my life for. Like, I can't wait to see, maybe there's just like another friend that they're going to connect me to. And that's why we've met, right? We don't know. We don't know what people come into our life for. And I'm just suggesting that if you stay in that curiosity mode, like think about when you were a child, like you never had, we didn't have these ideas about somebody meeting our expectation. We just went out and played with them. So just go out and play with them. I think that's it. Just play. And I know sometimes we want more because as adults, especially, we want support. And I get it. I do too. But the more we just are like, okay, like, let's play. And if the sandbox still feels good, let's play in the sandbox. And if we want to move to the swing, let's move to the swing. And if it doesn't work out and I don't like how you swing and you don't like how I swing, then let's find another swing partner, right? So it's it doesn't have to be so heavy. And I think just really being in the play mode and curiosity is the trick to it all. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Okay. I think this one's a 2-part question from the same person. When do you shift the state from negative emotions, masculine doing, and when do you surrender to heal, feminine allowing? A bit of an interesting question because a state from negative emotions, masculine doing, to me are not connected. They may be connected for this individual, which is fine because that's how they're asking the question. But being in negative emotion does not have to be in a masculine doing mode, but I think it kind of ties in even to the last question, that it's about, I'm just looking at the question to make sure that I'm answering it and I'm feeling into the specifics here, because I think there's multiple things happening. The negative emotions are based on ideas perhaps about what you think you should be doing, which is the masculine. So maybe that's where that's tied in for you. And so it's about unraveling the mind about what that thing is that you think you're supposed to be doing, right? Or accomplishing. I think that's how that's tied in. And so that's just self-judgment, right? That's self-judgment of yourself and expectation of yourself that you're supposed to be doing something else, or doing something at all. And so the feminine and allowing is, as you're saying, the receiving. How do we know the balance? And I think it's quite simple, and yet we make it so complicated that we take the inspired action, right? And sometimes inspired action doesn't always just come like, whoa, like here it is what we do. It's great when it does, when it's a hell yes, like I know it, I'm doing it, I'm going for it. But it's also about really sitting with intention to say, what are my intentions for today? And from those intentions, right? And I hope on the top of your list that your number one intention is to have fun and be happy doing and being whatever you're called to do and be. And I don't know, like, I don't always put that on the top of my list because I want to get down to the list. I want to say, like, what am I going to get done and how am I going to feel good about it at the end of the day? So stop that. Yes, you're going to get things done and you're going to feel good at the end of the day, but you want to feel good all along the way, which is setting that first intention to be happy and to feel good and to enjoy even some of the most mundane tasks, right? That are happening during the day. Some of the things at work that we don't really love to do, some things that aren't really our wheelhouse, just laughing our way through as best we can, maybe laughing under our breath because our colleagues will be like, what are you laughing at? And really finding a way to allow the things to come to us as we're doing, but we're doing inspired action And when we can't take inspired action, we're doing intentional action, meaning we've set our day to be intentional about what we want to accomplish. And if somebody throws a zinger and says, crisis, you got to do this, you got to do this. Okay, I understand that's not your intention to have to do that to-do item. But as you're doing it, it's the energy that you have around it that you're actually wanting to just enjoy it, laugh about it, and let the energy around it flow through. So that's still receiving, that's still, you're giving and you're receiving, you're in that mode, you're really letting the circle happen where you're not judging yourself, the situation, and having a grumpy face about the doing part. It's a beautiful balance. Sometimes we just have to do, and sometimes we're just being, but we have a choice how we're going to feel through each one of those. And I would say choose to be happy. If I haven't answered that question, or I've got it a little confused or something, please let me know, and I'd be happy to elaborate on that a little bit more. Okay, let's see. Is there a way that I can, sun must just be coming in this time of year. So let's see, how can I'm going to just keep moving over to the side. I love the sun. The sun is gorgeous. It's just a little much in my eyes as we're going through these questions. So let's go on to the next question. When is it looping in negative stories, and when is it healing? Okay, I think that was question number 2, or the second part, I should say, of the last one. When it's looping, because you don't feel good about it. You're tired of it. You don't feel good about it. It's not making you happy. And when it's not looping and it's just something that came in and you're like, okay, I get it. Thank you. And you replace the thought with something else, that's helpful. And then you're able to really leverage. You're really able to leverage more the energy around it. I want to make sure I answered that specific, because I have a feeling this person's wording is very specific, and I want to make sure that I capture this. Yes. When is it looping in negative stories, and when is it healing? So let's comment on the healing part. The healing part is when we can let it go and when we don't bring it back in. And I would say this: if you find yourself telling everybody that story when you see them, especially someone who hasn't heard the story yet, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to tell them the story, you are in a loop. You are absolutely in a loop. There's no reason to tell everybody about the same story. Tell one person, release it, let it go, journal about it. But if you're telling everybody and it's like the theme of your day, man, you are wasting your time, because you want the theme of your day to be based on something good that's happening in your life, something that you want to be happening in your life, not something that you don't want to be happening in your life. So really focus in on, who am I telling, how many times a day? That's a loop. So stop that. You might think you feel better because you're telling people, but you're not, because you're just imprinting that idea and that feeling in your body at a cellular level, as opposed to releasing it and letting it go. It's a tricky one, I know all too well, but you really got to monitor yourself on this, and you've really got to think about, do I need to talk to this person about this? Yeah, no, I don't. I can let that go. And let it go, and then come up with something else. You can pre-prepare at the beginning of your day, pre-prepare something that you're going to say when that person, that thing comes to mind. And I'm like, I want to talk about that, and say, nope, I'm not talking about that. I'm going to talk about this, and figure out what that one thing is, and just talk about that all week long. Give a little update on that thing, whatever that is. Maybe it's something about work. Maybe it's something, something else that's exciting happening in your life. Maybe it's that your YouTube followers are exponentially increasing. All right, let's go on to the next question. Okay. It's like so annoying when it gets so bright. Okay, let's see here. It looks like we might even have a question in the stream. So I just want to look here. Okay, so on to the next. I've divorced my wife almost a year ago. She's already dating someone new and in a relationship. I don't understand how she can move on so quickly, and it's hurtful to me. How can I stop feeling sad about this? Okay, great question. Stop focusing on her. Stop focusing on your sadness. I'm not saying like ignore your sadness. I'm not saying don't feel your sadness. I'm saying don't sit in your sadness. But most importantly, do not focus on her. If you haven't already cut off most of your communication lines, and I don't mean blocking someone, I just mean if you haven't already like really stopped whatever, if you're following it on social media, stop that. If you're making phone calls and texts, stop that. You got to stop all of that because you're still connected energetically to her energy. That is not going to help you. And bless her for moving on. We don't have to worry about if she's learned her lessons or not. What we what we focus on is, have I learned the lessons that I wanted from the relationship? Even though it sounds like you didn't want the divorce, you on a soul level asked her to come in and be your partner, for you to fall madly, deeply in love with her, and for her to leave you and create this heartache. It sucks. And it's hard to think that we would create these things ourselves. But we do. They're all soul contracts. They're all people, places, things that we've called into our life to help us grow and help us awaken and help us expand. And the fact that you're even asking this question is such a great sign, because it means that you're open to wanting to acknowledge that, hey, I'm still thinking about this, and you're being vulnerable to bring it up. But you're a year out. It's time to move into thoughts and feelings that you want to have for you. And I would even start, if you haven't already, thinking about, what is the perfect woman to date look like? Make a list of all the things that you liked and don't like of your previous partner, but think about it more broadly so that it doesn't get so stuck on her. And think about all of the relationships you've had. Go back to the last 5, the last 10, and write down, like, what are all the things I really loved about this woman? What are all the things that, oh, you know what, I didn't really like so much about that one. Oh, I love this, or, oh, and start putting together that list. Now, I'm not saying like a heavy expectation list. I'm just saying, get clear with the universe what you want to bring in. It's clear that it's time to move on. She's moving on. Good for her. You need to move on. Good for you, because that's where the healing happens. And, chances are the best part is for you to do the work, be in relationship with others, tell them where you're at. Hey, my heart still hurts. Otherwise, these situations turn into rebounds, and we try to pretend we're somewhere we're not. Don't do that either, because that's just hard for the other person. Say, I would love to be friends with you. I would love to, if you feel intimacy with a new person, do it, but just be fair with them. I'm still thinking about my ex and I want to move through it. I hope you can help me. Right? And don't bog down that person with all your woes about the other person, but just be open about where the state of your heart is. That's the important part, that you're legit with yourself and you're telling yourself the truth where you are, and that you're telling others the truth, and that you're getting out of the loops of wanting to tell the same story of, my wife left me, I'm sad, I don't know what to do with my life. I'm not saying this is you, but that where something that a lot of times happens for people, it's like, it's really jolting. The rug gets pulled out. They're like, I don't know what to do now. My whole future, vision and fantasy, again, I don't know if this is you, but was, just vanished in a short period of time. You have a new canvas. Artists have fresh canvases all the time. They spend months, sometimes years, creating the most beautiful painting, only to let it go. They sell it, it goes, and then they have to start out with a fresh new canvas. So that's what relationships can be like. You learn a lot from the last 6, 12 months, 2 years, whatever it is it took you to make that painting. Now you got a whole new canvas, and you got a beautiful box of paints or whatever it is, that you can, and colors, that you can create something new. I don't know why we all have to get, okay, not we all, and I don't know if this is you, but a lot of times we get really caught up in like change and things that are different. It's such a beautiful opportunity, such a beautiful time in our lives to just have freshness and newness. And I'm not discounting. I know I've been through heartbreak. I know what it's like when someone leaves and you want them and you're yeah, you don't understand why they've left. But when you do the deeper work, you do start to understand why they weren't right for you. And it doesn't have to be about you. It's about them. And so just really keep doing the work. You're doing great. I feel it. And keep your heart open, most importantly. Don't let these heartbreaks take you down. You're a beautiful heart. Someone is going to come in and really, really appreciate that big heart of yours and help you get to the next level of your awakening and ascension. And you're going to do the same for them. It goes both ways. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Okay, I want to go on a vacation with my family, and my husband is being frugal and not wanting to spend the money. It's super frustrating that it feels like he has control over how we spend our money, and I'm tired of talking about it and not feeling heard. What should I do? Okay, this is complicated because I don't know what your whole situation is and what your finances are and all of that. But the first thing that comes to mind is take your own trip. Assuming that it's not putting people into dire straits or, some kind of a difficult situation financially, just take yourself on vacation. Stop complaining about it and just do it. If it's about your family, then there's lots of ways you can go on vacation that don't have to require a lot of money. It can be a lot of things. It can be camping, it can be overnights, it can be day trips, it can be lots of things that still bring the bonding time. Because I would say go back to what is it about the vacation that you really want? Is it a unique experience with your family? Is it that you want to go to another country? Is it that you want, what is the most important aspect of it? Is it that you just really want to get on an airplane? Is it that you want to stay in a nice place? Is it that you want to experience the ocean? Get really specific about what experience you want to have, what your heart's really desiring. And then I would come at it with your spouse a little bit differently, as opposed to, I want to take this vacation and go here. You come at it more emotional in the sense that you say, I really feel, I'm making this up, I really feel that going on a vacation, sitting next to the ocean, having a refreshing drink in my hand, and our children with us swimming in the ocean would just provide such an incredible reset for me. I would just feel like, whew, I could just forget about the laundry. I can forget about cooking. It would really be a way that I would love to experience the family. Yeah, I know we're here at home, and yeah, I know we can have dinners here, but for me emotionally, that would be so recharging for me. I would really like to do that, assuming that the ocean is one of the things. And then see your partner's response. Because if you're kind of going head to head and toe to toe on this and you're not making any movement, there's something there emotionally that's not coming forward. And if then the emotion gets to, you don't let me, or blah, 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 or accusational about control and all of that, then it takes it in the wrong turn, right? I have a feeling that your partner really cares about you and wants you to be happy, but that maybe one of the underlying issues here is the value of experience and money, right? So your partner may not have the same value placement on experiences in life. There's nothing bad or wrong with that, but then you probably need to come forward with more of why the experience is important to you. And you got to get into the depths of that and then see what their response is. I have a feeling you're going to get a much better response from them. And if they say no, then ask them for their solutions. Especially if it's a man, then, they love giving solutions. So what is your solution? I'd like to have this experience with our children and you. And I can't have it here because we don't have an ocean, wherever you live. And that's how I'm feeling right now. This is feeling really important to me to have this experience. And then see what they say. I don't know that it's about control. I think it's just about a difference in values, and it's something that you guys got to work out because it's a core issue that's going to go across much more than just a vacation, right? If you think there's control with money and all of that stuff, that always plays a really interesting part, and you want to get to the core of that, because that stuff is like brings in lots of crap. Work through it, do the work together. But most importantly, you have to express your emotion, and not in a way that's threatening to the other person, but that, brings your heartfelt side to the table and says, this is how I feel about it. Can you help me? And I bet you'll see something different. Okay, I think we are down to the hour. Yes, we are. I so appreciate all the questions this week, every week. There's great stuff coming. Please write in the comments if you're watching this on replay. I'm happy to answer your question next week. You can go on Instagram, Queen Bliss B, or Facebook, Beth Bell Live, and I'd be happy to answer them next week. So we're here to help transform relationships to love and to life. And I so appreciate you. Wishing you only bliss and love in the next week. See you Sunday.